Yeah, this is about as bizarre as it could possibly be. It's like an episode of Twilight Zone, and everybody under 30 years old is probably going, "What the hell are you talking about?" But it's just a really strange thing. And I saw a YouTube video titled, "It's Prado." I don't know who did it, so apologies, but it said, "Prado, how did we get here?" And I said, "That's a really good idea for someone, and hopefully they know enough, or their context or is enough to kind of really paint this in the right light. Because if somebody did this the right way, it would be a compelling story to tell from start to finish. And maybe someone with the chops to do it correctly, once it's all said and done, will do it, because this has been incredible. And I know that the public doesn't get to see or hear everything, right? I get to talk to Oscar Weirdeman privately. I get to talk to other people that are firsthand involved in what's going on. And I kind of have to parse that conversation, not betray their trust, also look at it objectively, think about Jorge's side of things as well, because he certainly has an opinion. Like, he can say what he wants, because I think he believes what he's saying. Whether that's true or not, or whether that's logical, whether he's deluding himself, that's a whole different conversation. But there are certain things that he believes, and that has to be at least a part of the story. You can't just discredit the person, like the main character of the story, and how they believe this has gone too. But man, every weekend it just seems like it's getting worse. And there were so many times where okay, we turned a corner, it's going to get better, and then it would get, it was like one step forward, two steps back is really what was happening. Like, we would take a step forward, and then a week or two later, you'd be much further behind, or in a much worse situation than you had been, that you thought you were. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a regression the whole time. So, the question really now is, where do we go from here? And I do think he'll race the playoff rounds on a Kawasaki. When you think about the money part, contractual part, no one wants to get sued, clearly. Monster signed on as the official title sponsor of the SMX playoffs now, which they never were before. So that matters a little bit, right? That's going to add some emphasis on, hey, man, whatever comes may come. We may have to, call it quits here, but we kind of need you to do these rounds. Like, we just paid millions of dollars, or whatever the number is, to sponsor this series, and we pay you an insane amount of money also. So we need you out there. Like, just suffer through it. And we'll, if we're going to part ways after this, let's do it like on the best terms possible, which would be fulfilling these obligations. So I do think he does those rounds. And then the interesting question for me is, does he get a works KTM or gas for the Motocross of Nations and race for Team Spain? That's to me, like, everything else is incredibly interesting. That's the most intriguing part, because I think there's an opportunity for this story to explode if that happens. Like, imagine the lead up and how interesting that's going to be if he shows up on the bike he wants to be on at that round. And I don't know if it could be the worst thing possible for him, or it could, completely change the narrative for him too. If he goes out there and is on fire and is on the podium both days, I think you'll hear a lot of people say, well, he just shut us all up. And however we think he handled the Cowie thing, we may think he didn't handle it well, but clearly he wasn't wrong. That's what is on offer if he does it right. But if he goes out there and it's the same old, and he doesn't perform, oh man, it's really going to be hard for him to square that with the public. For me, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not a vested interest, but the public, his fans, especially those that want to be detractors, because there are a lot. There are a lot of people in America right now that are shouting from the rooftops about the way this has gone. And I'm not one of them. I kind of like poke fun at it, but I also am very aware of what he is capable of as a rider. And I've been pushing back all summer against people shouting from the rooftops. That part of what makes me so frustrated is that I can only defend so much. If you're going to not give me anything to really defend with, both, vocally and performance wise, you don't even try to qualify at Budds Creek. I can't really defend it anymore. You know what I mean? I have to call a spade at some point. And that doesn't mean that I have forgotten what he can do as a racer. It just means that I feel like he's quitting on everybody around him and quitting himself. And those two things to me are distinctly different. They're not mutually exclusive. They're mutually exclusive. You can be a great racer and be capable of great things, and you can also put in no effort and quit and not be doing the right thing for yourself, your sponsors, people that believe in you, people that are paying you, because you're making them look really foolish. Like imagine what Bruce Sternstrom is feeling right now, because Bruce was the driving factor of this deal. This was Bruce's deal. And it's not like he told me that. It's not like I had a meeting with him. He said, hey man, this is my deal. I just watched it from the outside and I saw it unfold. And I know Bruce was the guy that wanted this deal done. So imagine how he feels going to bat with Cowie and Monster, getting millions of dollars. Like he's close to, he's somewhere in the twos, mid to high twos for salary. And he has to feel, I don't even know, cheated, sold a bad, like bad goods, just this is not what he signed up for. And so I think there's a lot here that Jorge is going to have to atone for. And I don't think it's going to be on a Kawasaki, that atonement. Really, all that he can try to do now is be classy on the way out, because I do think he's on the way out no matter what. And then when he gets on that orange bike or red bike, he better haul ass. Like he better ride like his freaking hair is on fire if he wants anybody to kind of like be like, oh, maybe we were wrong. Because that's really what you're hoping for here. You're hoping that you ride so well in October that everybody that's screaming at you and like there are a lot of people saying some really nasty things, not me, other people. You want them to all have to pause. They're not going to be your fan. Like, forget about that. But you want them to have to basically just shut up. And so, again, really long way of saying if he does get off of Kawasaki in October and races Ironman on an Austrian bike, it's going to be the story of the weekend, in my opinion. Like, it'll overshadow everything else for me going in. Like, Australia, USA, all of that, I will be more interested in what Prado does than anything else.
Oh, it's going to be fascinating. That's a really excellent, thorough breakdown of the situation, mate, because, yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's a couple more crazy chapters in store for sure of this story. And, with Spain, if they do have him, obviously having Fernandez, then you can pick out of Fares, Oliver, Garcia, the EMX 250 front runner. There's a lot of talent there. You'd imagine Fares would get the nod at this point, but that's a podium level team. And like you said, it's going to be a lot of behind the scenes dealing if they can work out how that shapes up on a KTM, because Monster would not be too happy about that, I'd imagine. So how much you sort of that's got to weigh on the occasion too. And I guess how much risk is KTM taking on as well, mate? Do you think it's worth it from their side? You'd have to imagine it is with Vial heading off, but they must have some serious reservations about the way he's behaved as well, because he certainly tarnished his reputation and he's ramping up the pressure on himself too by doing this. It's obviously driven by him, this move, so it's kind of a no excuses situation. So there's a couple of interesting subplots there you want to touch on.
Yeah, I think for Spain, you basically just have to wait it out. And if he's telling you behind the scenes that this is likely going to pan out for me to be on the team, I think you just wait, because their only real chance of a strong result is him on the team and him performing to a high level. If he's out and it's Fernandez, Braceras, Bolivar, but Ferris would be a good pick. I mean, realistically, that team's not getting in the maybe top five, maybe. But if you have Prado and Prado's on, you have a real shot at being like in the conversation for a top five. Like if Fernandez is on fire and Prado's Prado, you get a strong race from Ferris, who is capable. He is capable. You could have a top five team. So I think you wait, and of course they're in communication with Prado. Of course they are, right? So they know a lot more than we do, and I think personally that the silence is deafening with the Spanish team not announcing their team. To me, them saying nothing right now speaks volumes about what's happening, because they have reason to believe that he's going to be on the team. And I don't have a way to prove this, but I believe wholeheartedly in my soul that there's zero chance, period, that he's racing that race on a Kawasaki. 0% chance he's racing on a Kawasaki. So logically, he has to be telling them, hey, I think I can be on a KTM. Otherwise, what are they waiting for? Like if you just start connecting dots, logically, if there's zero chance on a Kawasaki and they're waiting on him, that means that absolutely there's a chance that he's racing an Austrian bike at that race. So a lot to work through there, of course, right? Like I understand that, but I do think there's a chance for him, and he has a lot to make up for, right? I can't imagine that Red Bull's looking at this going, "Oh, this is great. I love how this is going. Like, hopefully we get you back." Like I'm sure they'll take him back. He's been a Red Bull athlete for a very long time, but they can't love how his image has been dragged through the mud over the last 2 months. Like that's not good for marketing. So there's a lot. Another part of this too is you never want to burn a bridge, especially one as powerful and as involved as Monster is. So when I say he needs to, like, if they want him to do the playoffs, he needs to do the playoffs. You need to try to exit here with as much mutual respect and, hey, we may need to cross paths down the road again, and we need to like make sure we're okay, because in the end, Monster had nothing to do with him not liking the Kawasaki program. Nothing, 0%, right? Like it wasn't, I don't like Monster energy drinks. This tastes like, butthole. Like that's not what was happening. He just didn't like what was going on with the team and the bike. So I would be doing everything possible. If I had to go to Irvine and go to the Monster Beverage headquarters and sit down and say, hey, I need you guys to very clearly understand what this is and what this is not, to make sure that it was no ill will towards you guys. This is just what the situation is. I think that would be worth it.